Welcome, everybody, and let's take a look at the ethical theories quiz first. You guys did really well on it. The quiz for today is going to be on the other two ethical systems as well as the first three. So you're going to have to be able to pick between five of them, essentially. And um, yeah, so let's take a look at it. Stealing is wrong because if everybody stole, then nobody would bother making anything since it gets stolen. That's a Kantian perspective. Um, So technically, you should say stealing is wrong because you have a duty not to steal. But how do you know if you have a duty not to steal? Well, you think about, well, what if everybody did it? That's the categorical imperative, right, from Kant. Act as if all of your actions were universals, and so if everybody stole, then nobody would make anything, and the world would suck, right? So that is a deontological Kantian perspective on that. Stealing is wrong because the Ten Commandments say, "Thou shalt not steal." Pretty easy. Um, I don't know how to help the person who didn't guess, but there you go. Yeah, "Thou shalt not steal" is classic divine command theory. God says you shouldn't do this, therefore you shouldn't do it. And then when you talk about pleasure and pain, that is a moral hedonistic perspective, right? Where you have to add up the amount of pleasure that comes from an act, subtract out the amount of pain. If it's net pleasure, then it's good. If it's net pain, it's bad. That's a utilitarian perspective, specifically moral hedonism by Jeremy Bentham. And again, like 80% is pretty good. 70% is what I'm shooting for because there's always about 20% of students that just don't show up to class, don't watch these videos, and just guess. Don't know what to tell you. Okay. So itch.io, which I've actually uploaded stuff on before, came out with a policy on NFTs, and their policy is look at the outcome of NFTs, and they destroy the planet, et cetera, et cetera. So that is a consequentialist viewpoint. Consequentialism means you evaluate the ethics of an action based on the outcomes it has. And so, if NFTs are destroying the planet, and an NFT, if you guys aren't familiar with that phrase, a non fungible token, it allows you to own a picture. And if that seems weird to you, um, like how can you own like a JPEG? Like you can't because people can just copy it, But NFTs allow you to say I own this one and transfer ownership to somebody else. And if that sounds dubious to you, yeah, it probably should. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's like digital ownership of things that are digital, I guess is one way of putting it. Okay, so anyhow, they don't like NFTs based on the outcomes they have. F's in school have always been between 0 and 59% because that's how it's always been. That's status quo bias, right? There is a movement. I don't know how successful it's going to be to get the grading scale changed to be like 0 to 20% is an F, 20 to 40 is a D, 40 to 60 is a C, 60 to 80 is a B, and 80 to 100 is an A. It's like spreading out the grades wider. In part, I think, because schools kind of want more students to pass. And what the upshot of that grading scale would be, for one thing, like if you do really badly on a test, like you can still get like a B, like getting a 60% on a test right now is failing, but under that system it would be a B. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you like a grading scale like that? 0 to 20%, 20 to 40, 40 to 60 is a C, 60 to 80 is a B, 80 to 100 is an A. Yeah, I mean, of course you would. Anything to pass, right? And that's the attitude that a lot of colleges have these days. Like we just want everybody to pass. Like we'll just rubber stamp them, get them out the door, and then if students suck, out the door, that's somebody else's responsibility, right? The real world will teach them what they need to know, and I kind of I'm kind of of two minds on it, right? Easier 4.0. Yeah, the justification for that is like every once in a while students are going to forget to do something, right? And so like right now, if you forget to do a homework assignment, you get a 0. And then if you do 100% on the next one, right now they average to a 50%, which is an F. And under that proposed new model, an A and an F would average together to a C, which kind of makes sense if you think about it, right? But at the same time, like, do I want to pass somebody who's only done half the homework in the class? Like, probably not. Probably not, especially in like a programming class that I'm teaching. Like, if somebody only did half the programming assignments, they probably don't know the material. You know, like I give the homework assignments for a reason, right? Like they're each one is designed to teach like some specific concept. And if you've walked away from the class with half the concepts not grasped, you probably, very probably, should not go on to the next one. You know, and sort of just like, well, it'll be somebody else's responsibility is a really dubious justification, in my opinion. So it'd be weird to make the change. Yeah, and that's status quo bias stuff, right? Like it would feel really weird not doing this, you know, because the status quo is bias. And in fact, I saw a professor, you know, basically argue that like we've been doing this for 100 years, you know, we should keep with it, right? So that's status quo bias. It's not a great argument. Well, just because we've always done it that way is not a good argument, you know. But at the same time, you have to kind of think about like when should we flunk somebody? That's a tough question for you guys as students. When should we flunk a student? When should we say no? You have not learned enough to go on to the next class or to graduate. You need to take it again. What do you guys think? I'm helping their future if I flunk them, or if I pass them, because a lot of students are only focused on passing, right? And they don't realize, like, you know, I had a student that sort of squeezed by in CSI 40 first semester computer science, and barely, you know, sort of passed. Had a really weak grasp of computer science, got into CSI 41, was in over his head, started relying on other people for help. Turned into him cheating, having them, you know, write, you know, homework for him and stuff like that. And, you know, it's just not a good situation. And then then you're really not learning, right? And then you're just like dead in the water, right? Because like every single class you take, you're gonna need somebody to write it for you, you know. So you know, you don't want a nurse who didn't know the material. Yeah, you don't want a doctor that like passed on a 40%. I know 40% of the diseases, you know, like that's not great, you know. I know 40% of the important drugs out there. It's not good. When you see a student not putting 100% effort into their work, you know their potential is way higher than they show. Shag University, yeah. So it's a I get like, okay, you know, stuff happens and occasionally you're gonna miss something. But like, you know, like none of the material is like, um, yeah, I mean, I do, right? Like I do pay attention to like what students are turning in and what they're capable of, stuff like that. But like it's not good for them not to know the material, right? Like when you're programming, like you have to know what a for loop is and if statement and things like that. And if you don't, you probably should fail and retake it until you do. All right. So today we are going to be talking about 2 more ethical systems, and then we'll be talking about cancel culture. So to review divine command theory, the ones we went over last time. Divine command theory says that something is right or wrong because your religion says it's right or wrong. Okay. So if, you know, the 10 commandments say you can't steal, you can't steal. Okay. Are we going to take a final and a midterm? Yes, we are. There is not just one midterm. There are 2 midterms in this class. So that is a great way of finding out if you've actually been paying attention or not. Yep. So DCT is pretty easy to understand, I think, right? Like anytime religion's like mandating what's right or wrong, that's divine command theory. Okay. So utilitarianism is based on adding up the amount of pleasure, subtracting out the amount of pain. If you have net pleasure, then it is good. If you have net pain, it is bad, and you should not do it. Okay. Kantian ethics is focused instead of on the outcome, which utilitarianism is. It's instead focused on intention, right? You have a duty to always tell the truth, always, 100%. How do you know that? Categorical imperative. You think about, well, what if everybody lied? What if everybody told the truth? And compare the two and figure out which world you want to live in. You want to act in such a way that everybody could act that way. Kant. Are we doing any coding for this class? Yeah, you've already had one. I hope you did the scratch this assignment. They're all graded already. It's coding. It's block coding. This is an easy programming class. And then we'll be doing Python later in the semester. Okay, so virtue ethics is a new one for today. All right. And so Aristotle wrote a book called Nicomachean Ethics for his kid. And he basically sort of laid out what he thought was the like an ethical system, but it's more than an ethical system. It's a way of sort of training kids to be virtuous. And in fact, in Greek times, like education was seen as a way of improving the morality of students, of improving the virtue of students. So it's not just like nowadays we consider college to be like job training, right? Like you're getting skills you're going to need at the job. And that's another reason why you want to fail people, because you want people to actually know the knowledge, they have to meet a certain level of rigor, like that's what, and some administrators think rigor is a bad word, but it's like, no, you need to actually have a certain level of knowledge to go out into the workforce. But virtue ethics and the Greek take on it is more like education's about cultivating character, right? Which is weird. It's like you go to college to become a better person, which is weird in our modern sensibility. Okay. And so what are the virtues? Okay. Virtues are habits. They're things you do on an ongoing basis that is part of being an excellent human being. And a vice is something that makes you a non-excellent human being. It sounds like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, right? You want to be an excellent human being, right? And so if you have a vice of like being lazy and not doing your homework, that makes you not a great person, right? If you're reliable and people can depend on you, that makes you an excellent human being, right? And so you want to cultivate virtues and you want to eliminate your vices. And it's always a ongoing process, right? Like you're never quite done with it. But you can use virtue ethics as a way of like thinking about yourself, like what am I good at, what am I bad at, and then working on the things that you're bad at. And what makes it really interesting is that he felt that every vice is actually either a lack of a virtue or an excess of a virtue, which sounds weird because like for Kant, like if a murderer asks you to tell the location of his murder victim, like you tell him, and to Aristotle, you're like, whoa, that's being too truthful, right? Like everybody knows that if you're not truthful, that's a vice, right? Like you're a liar and whatever, right? Like somebody who never tells the truth, like nobody wants to be around that person. They are not an excellent human being, right? But if somebody is too truthful, yeah, you're fat right now. That dress makes you look fat. Oh, you want to murder somebody? They're over there. Aristotle would be like, that's too much, bro. Like, keep your mouth shut. Like you're being way too honest right now. And so what Aristotle said was that what you want to find is the golden mean in between too much and too little of something. So, for example, courage is a virtue, right? And courage is halfway between, so to speak, cowardice, right? Cowardice is when you've got no courage at all, right? Like you just run away from every challenge. Something hard is coming up, you just like avoid it. Like a lot of students learn that if they act out in class, they can get out of having to do a test, and so they'll just act out and just run away from a test rather than standing up to it and taking it. But a lack of courage, I think everybody can see, yeah, that's bad. That's a vice, right? But too much courage is also a problem. Do you guys know anybody that had too much courage, that was reckless, that would do things like jump their dirt bike over a gap, or engage in risky behavior because like look at me, look at how brave I am, this kind of stuff. Any of you guys have some stories like that? I certainly do, but let me hear some of your stories first. No, you don't know anybody that was too courageous. That my brother crashed into another car. Thing I've been driving since I was 16. I know what I'm doing. Rod from the movie Hot Rod, kinda. When I was on the ski team, one of the officers of the team drove a van, and we'd pile into his van and drive up from San Diego to Mammoth every other week. And he was a motorcycle racer, and like he would go down some of the riskiest runs on the slope, and I would follow him sometimes, probably to my detriment. It was probably an excess of courage on my part going down these rocky chutes and off piste skiing through the trees and things like that. I actually didn't get hurt doing that, which maybe it wasn't an excess. I don't know. When you ate a bunch of greasy food before going to Target. I lit 2 swords and fought with a friend. That's funny. Escanor from Seven Deadly Sins. A kid ran in the middle of the street on Blackstone in my car when I was driving. Yeah. Take a risk could have a limit. Some people take risks to the fullest. Yeah, exactly, Senator. 260 miles an hour on a track. Jeez, my lord. Yeah, he did that kind of stuff too. Like he would do racing on tracks and things like that on a motorcycle. And so one of the things that he would do though is like we'd all be piled into his van, and we'd be at Mammoth, and the roads would be all icy and stuff like that. So we'd be going through an intersection, and he would hit the e-brake, and we would spin like a 720 through the intersection, and then come out the other side. And you just do this for fun. You're just sitting there in the car like, he's spinning like this. And you just do that to mess with people and stuff like that. And that was all well and good until one of the days he went right off the side of the road. And fortunately, nobody was hurt, but his car fell into a ditch, and it shattered all of the windows on the car. And fortunately, I was not in the van that day. I was riding with somebody else because this guy was kind of crazy. And so all the people that rode with him that weekend had no windows in like frozen, snow, and so they're like driving back from Mammoth, and like there's no windows in the van, and they're doing like 80 miles an hour on the 395, and just all of them are sitting there with their ski gear on, just like dying, in the van because this guy had an excess of courage, right? So Aristotle would say that was didn't crouch while in the ancient city. That's funny. So that would be an excess of courage, right? When somebody is too courageous. So virtues, all of them are in moderation, right? They're all like when not doing too much of something, not doing too little. And this is a weird way of thinking about things. Because we're used to thinking of things like generosity as being good, right? So like if generosity is good, then we should give more, right? Like we're told this all the time, right? Like you need to give more. And I think we can all agree, right? Like a lack of generosity is a bad thing. Like you guys have friends that are like so stingy, like they wouldn't even like, if you're short $1 at dinner, like they wouldn't even give you $1. Do you guys have any stingy friends like that? I think most people can agree. Your sister. That's funny. Your mother. Yeah, like most like that are so like tight-fisted with money that like even for just a small amount of money, like they're not going to help out even their closest friends or myself, yeah, or they want interest back, yeah, pay me back $1.50 tomorrow. It's like people don't want to be around people like that, right? And that's one of the signs that you're an excellent person is that people like being around you, right? Like this is a good person. I want to be around you, right? And whereas when people have a complete lack of generosity, people are like, go away, you know. In this economy, yeah, fair enough, but like, if you lack generosity, like people are not going to want to be around you, and so like we're told like you should be more generous, and so I know some people that have taken that to an extreme on the too generous side. And for example, the IRS, that's funny. So like for example, a person who would get a paycheck on the first of the month and then give it away to all of her friends on the second of the month. And so that sounds great, like, if you're one of her friends, like, oh, I get a free dress, and it's not like she wasn't working, like she was working full time, but she'd get a paycheck and then something like she was like blowing it on herself, right? It was like she would buy like knives for her friends. Oh, you like knives? Here's a knife, Oh, you like dresses? Here's a dress. Oh, you like jewelry? Here's jewelry. And just like she would give away essentially all of her money on the second. And this would be okay, I guess, if she was like living at home with her parents, but she was a parent and she had two kids. And so they became homeless. Because, she fell behind on rent because she didn't have any money and got evicted and became homeless with two kids, not being able to afford food, kids tuition money. No, her relatives took her credit cards away from her, because and put her into like a power of attorney situation because, like, despite working, like, like it's not good, right? It's really not. Too nice, you get walked all over and taken advantage of. Yeah, exactly. And if you're too mean, nobody wants to be around you. Exactly. And so we think of things like yeah, like, hey, give me $1, like, if you're short $1 at a restaurant, here you go. But like if you're too much of a pushover, then people will take advantage of you, right? And so yeah, that's a good way of putting it, Jeanette. And we can do this for any of these, right? Like, so ambition, right? So like ambition is a negative word, right? Like when we talk about that person's ambitious, we that usually has like a negative connotation, right? Of like being a vice. Like that person's ambitious. Like don't be around them. They're ambitious, right? And so that's why I labeled it on the slide as proper ambition. Proper ambition. So what is so we all know the vice of having too much ambition, right? Like somebody that is just aggressively trying to always make deals, and a lot of times they see their friends as just like stepping stones. Like, oh hey, like I had a guy, like he's like, oh, do you have any wealthy friends that might invest in my company? Is always like looking to like make a deal, and you can never like really feel that you can trust them or say anything around them because they might be like, oh, that's a great idea, I'm going to make a business out of it and not give you any money, that kind of stuff. Like I think we all know like the too ambitious thing, but what is a lack of ambition called, and why is that a vice to lack ambition? The users, they only use you for their own benefit. Yeah, yeah, they're not pleasant to be around. Like, and I've in my business life, I've certainly been around people that are always just like looking grow their business, and and like Aristotle says, like a certain amount of that's like cool, right? Like if you're running a business, oh, a new opportunity came out, um let me think about how I can use that and stuff like that. Like to a certain extent, it's okay, but when it's excessive, you're just like, don't spend time around me. I don't want to be around you. And you have the feeling that even if you do work with them, they're going to do everything they can to take all of your money and give you nothing. So you really don't want to work with them. It's just not worth your time. Someone who does nothing to improve their lifestyle. Um, you can't see too much about your life because, like Jenna said, you'll get walked over people because of people you know. So, what is somebody who lacks ambition called? Oh, that was a question for you guys. So, too much ambition, we know, is a vice. Why is too little ambition a vice? So we're not used to thinking of it that way, right? Like we're used to thinking of ambition as being bad. We're used to thinking of generosity as being good. Therefore, we should just have more of one, less of the other. And what Aristotle's arguing is that like, nah, like no, like you can take things too far. You can be too generous and be a pushover and lose your house and not have money to feed your kids. That's not a good situation. If you're buying jewelry for your friends and your kids are starving, that's not a good situation. Like that is an excess of generosity, right? And so a lack of ambition, somebody who values over themselves, somebody who's a conformist, too lazy, hopeless. Yeah, I think Dulce is probably on the closest route there. Drained. Yeah, like people that just like sit around all weekend playing video games. Wait, am I talking about myself now? No purpose in life. Yeah. Exactly, right? Like so somebody who just like sits around on the couch, doesn't work a job or hardly at all. He just calls I called myself out. I played a lot of video games over the weekend. I was up till 5 on Friday playing with a friend of mine in Tokyo. Um, so, but it's fine. Like Aristotle would be like, it's fine to play video games. You just have to have proper ambition, right? You can have too much or you can have too little. And so people who do nothing but play video games and they don't do their homework and they don't go to school and they skip class, so you just sleep in and drink or whatever. That's bad, right? Because you're not going to develop yourself in life. Having a little bit of ambition to improve yourself and to go out there and be useful and things like that is actually a virtue, especially in Aristotelian ethics and Nicomachean ethics and virtue ethics, however you want to put it. Little desire for success. You're playing. I have my priorities straight, and then rewarding myself with video games. Yeah. Yeah. It's important to like have fun, right? And that's a virtue ethics, right? It's important to play and have fun. Don't play too much because then you're just going to be worthless, just sitting at home playing video games all day. And don't not play at all because you become a very boring person, right? Like people who have no play in their lives are actually quite dry. Um, like they're just not interesting people, who don't play anything. Like they don't even do crossword puzzles. What's the point of a crossword puzzle? You know, you're like, well, it improves your brain. Well, I'll sit down. Is there ever a thing is too much? Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point. You can play too much. You can play too little. Wittiness. Let's do wittiness. What is it called when somebody is not witty at all? Like we want to be around witty people, right? We want to be around people that can tell jokes better than ChatGPT, right? I asked ChatGPT, ChatGPT, tell me a joke about uh, critical thinkers, and it's like, okay, why did the critical thinker cross the road to get to the other side and to think critically about questions? Like, it's not funny at all. ChatGPT. It's really bad. Yeah. Dream. Uh, boring. What do we call it when somebody's not witty? We want to be witty, right? We want to be funny. We want to be able to make people laugh, right? We want to be around people that are witty and make us laugh. It's um, call it Lewis. It says Lewis. uh, yeah, so you just made me laugh. So clearly, that's a self-contradicting statement there when you say, I am not witty at all." Is there just like nobody else talking on chat right now? What is it called? Like what do you call it when senseless? What do you call it when somebody just can't tell a joke, can't take a joke? How would you describe that person? Dull. That's a good word. Serious. I mean, being serious is probably you know, Dry humor. Yeah, not even like dry humor, just like no humor, right? Everyone needs to participate seriously, says Lewis. That's actually true. Like you guys are being a little quiet today. Blunt, flat, Elon Musk, Zuckerberg. All right. Okay, so right, it's like we don't want to be around people that are boring, right? In fact, that's one of like the cardinal rules of social interactions, is that like boring people are just it's a death sentence. You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to succeed socially and you're boring, like I don't know. There's kind of no recovering from that. You know what I mean? Like you want you want to socialize and have friends with people, and if you're boring as hell, like man, good luck. That's Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, good luck with that. No, I think J Law is witty. Um, so what is it called when you have too much wittiness? Okay, so I think we can all agree, like we just don't want to be around boring people, right? But how can you have too much wittiness? What is it called when you're telling too many jokes? What do we call a person like that? So when somebody lacks humor, they're called Amy Schumer. All right, that's a good one. Annoying, Deadpool. Yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons why the people in the MCU don't like Deadpool, right? It's like he's always telling a joke. You're like, dude, just chill for a moment, right? Annoying, a clown. Yeah. Uh, desperate for attention. Fiend for attention. Class clown. Yeah. Like you're not like the kind of person that tells inappropriate jokes at a funeral. And, sometimes like dark humor is like uh sometimes dark humor is kind of on point. Like you can sometimes like resolve like bad situations sometimes by using dark humor. Um, he plays too much in Troll Students. Humor covers pain. Yeah, but like yeah, like it is possible for just always be telling a joke and just nobody takes you seriously, and people just don't want to be around you. Harley Quinn. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, so you can do this for any of them, right? Too much friendliness, too little friendliness. Too much self esteem is called narcissism. Too little self esteem is called low self esteem. I don't know. There's probably a term for that. But yeah, low self esteem is bad. Narcissism is bad. But having like a good confidence in yourself is a virtue, right? And so with virtue ethics, there's no real. This is important. There is no easy guide to right action. Like if somebody asks you, like, "Hey, should I listen to rap music?" Like, there's no like you don't have a clear list of like do's and don'ts. Like with Kant, like you're like, all right, what if everybody listened to rap music? You can like think about it, right? Yes, you must do it, or no, you must not do it. With Aristotle, it's like I don't know, like are you listening to too much rap music? Like, is it impacting your life in such a way that like nobody wants to be around you because you're wearing like what are those Reeboks called that Kanye made? Whatever they're called, Yeezys or whatever, and like you're just annoying because all you can talk about is rap music. Then yeah, you should probably dial it down a little bit. And if you've never listened to rap music, then like maybe you should like at least listen so you kind of have an idea of like what rap music's about. Like there's no like great like yes you must do this, no you must not do that kind of thing in virtue ethics. It's all about cultivating yourself. It's all about like working on yourself, and you can look at like a list of virtues like this, right? And you'd be like, oh, I need to work on my patience, right? I'm a very impatient person. I need to work on my patience. Or you might be like, I'm too patient. I will wait forever for something to happen. I need to dial that down a little bit. Uh, so Snoop Dogg, that's funny. Um, do you guys understand? Like it's about cultivating yourself, and you can always work on yourself to become a better person and a more interesting person, more excellent person. Okay, so that's virtue ethics. Um, so yeah, and the best thing about it is that it actually stops you from going too far. because like a lot of these things, people just think, well, if love is good, I should try to love as much as possible. If patience is good, I should try to be as patient as possible. If friendliness is good, I should try to be as friendly as possible. And Aristotle's like, nah, you can definitely be too friendly. Yeah, like you will overwhelm people sometimes if you try to be too friendly. Like a friend of mine at his first job, he was just like super friendly to everybody, and they're like, "What are you doing?" Like he's at lunch and he's like, "Let's take selfies together," and they're like, I'm just trying to eat, man." And you can see like he'd send me photos from his work and like, look here I am at. Look at all my new friends, and all the faces on his friends are like this. He's like, yeah, on these selfies, and all the other people in the photos were like you just tell they're not a cool thing. Okay, so a YouTuber, no, that was just his personality, and he had to learn to dial that back. He was too friendly. So next theory, natural rights theory. All humans have certain inalienable rights. Among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is the Declaration of Independence. So, under natural rights theory, humans have certain rights that cannot be taken away. They cannot be taken away. They can be violated. Like if the government comes and like takes your horse, that's a violation of your right to property. But they can't be revoked. Like the government can't just say you don't have a right to free speech, because you do. Natural rights theory says there are these natural rights that are inherent in every human being that are actually more important and higher than the government. And a lot of people think, well, rights come from the government. Under natural rights theory, you can say, no, no, no. Rights come, from either from God or from your inherent worth as a human being. And so if governments violate those rights, you have a way of saying, no, the government's wrong. And then that's why we had the revolution, right? Because we said what the government was doing was wrong. And, the Declaration of Independence was a long list of grievances of like things that King George was doing that they did not like. And so under natural rights theory, a good action is one that protects or respects the rights of people, right? So like even if I disagree with you, if I say, hey, you have the right to say what you want to say, and I don't try to like cancel you, or whatever, then that would be a good action under natural rights theory. Whereas if I tried to like shut down newspapers that I didn't like, like let's say I'm the president, right? And I'm trying to shut down all the newspapers that are saying bad things against me. Like this is what's happening in Russia right now, right? Like they have various laws in Russia now against fake news, but basically, if you say anything critical of the Russian government, they can shut you down and imprison you up to 15 years, for saying critical things of the government. And so that would be an evil action, right? So a good action is one that protects and respects the rights. An evil action is one that violates the rights. Can't revoke it, because you still have the right, but they violated the right. Okay. And so what about censoring on big tech? Great question, right? Like who has the right to free speech? In America, the right to free speech is the government guaranteeing it to individuals and corporations. Corporations don't have to grant free speech to people on their platforms. But a lot of people argue anyway that, if big tech is like not allowing free speech on it, then that's a problem. So that's a great topic for an essay, in fact. So numerous stories during the election. Twitter was censoring during the elections. Yeah, like the Hunter Biden story, right, was censored by Twitter, and they're technically not in violation of the First Amendment in America, but a lot of people would still say that's harming people's freedom of speech. That's something you can argue. So, for example, a good action would be if somebody tries to murder you and you kill them, right? You might be like, but wait, didn't I just take away his right to life? So under natural rights theory, there's a couple different ways of handling such a conflict. But the simplest one is to say, if he tries to kill you, if he tries to deprive you of your right to life, then he has forfeited his right to life. And so when you kill him, you're defending your right to life, and that was a virtuous action. Whereas something that it is a private company, and and you do agree to the terms of service. They under the law, Twitter is fully legal of censoring any viewpoint at once. But people can and do argue that it's not good for big tech to be influencing which perspectives are okay and which ones are not. So, for example, what if the government doesn't protect the right to property? Let's take a hypothetical city called San Francisco, right? And in San Francisco, the police there basically won't do anything about like auto theft, right? Like if somebody breaks into your car and steals your stuff, speaking from personal experience, they don't do anything about it. In fact, they don't want to hear about it. You can't call in a police report like in normal cities. Like you can just be like, hey, my car got broken into. This is what got, nope, San Francisco, they will not allow you to do it. I tried calling in. They're like, you have to come into the station if you want to report it. So I went to the station and I sat there knocking on the door of the station for half an hour with police going in and out, just ignoring me. I'm like, I could be bleeding out here and nobody's answering my knocks. And finally, a guy very grudgingly came out. He's like, what? I'm like, I want to report a crime. He's like, I don't care. Why are you doing this? Oh, it's just for the insurance, right? I'm like, no, it's not for the insurance. My car was broken into. They stole my black belt. They stole one of my 2 shoes. I want to report this, and, and then I'm going to go look around for a guy wearing a black belt with my name on it, wearing one of my shoes. And the guy was just very grudging about it. Like, he's like, and they don't want to write it down because it makes them look bad, because the higher the, property crime rate is, the worse they look. And so, in under natural rights theory, the San Francisco Police Department is committing evil because they're actively not protecting people's property. Like, they just don't, it's literally not on the radar of things they care about. All they care about is issuing parking tickets, as far as I can tell, and maybe solving like the most severe crimes, maybe like murder. But like they're just actively not engaged in like protecting people's property. And so under natural rights theory, that would be an evil police department because they're allowing the violation of property when it's their job to defend people's property. Anyway, you can go on your property without consequence. The purge, yeah. They'll add signs on the freeway saying "lock your cars" and call it a day. Yeah, it's like, well, it was your fault for having shoes in a car. You should have known that somebody would break into your car to steal one of your 2 shoes. They didn't take both; they took one of them. So I drove around San Francisco for a while looking for a one-legged guy. Didn't find him though, unfortunately. Like, you stole my black belt, Prepare to die, So, they were Doc Martens. They're decent enough shoes. Okay, so yeah, natural rights theory, pretty easy to understand. Like basically, you have a list of rights, and if somebody violates it, it's evil. If you protect it, it's good. Easy. You can use natural rights theory to judge governments. You like, the government is wrong here, like with the San Francisco police, right? They're like, and I will in fact go to bat for this and say the San Francisco police is evil, because they don't protect people's property. And you can be critical of the government, whereas if you think that rights come from the government, you can't, because that's just how it is. You get your rights from the government. If they don't choose to protect your property, that's their decision. They got sorry, I needed the black belt to look more confident. It's fine. That's the right. And the trouble with natural rights theory is that you can have rights conflicting, right? Like, is it okay to murder somebody if they're stealing your shoe, right? And right to life, right to property, which one? Like, if somebody steals bread to save the life of their kid, is that right or wrong? So you have to come up with kind of like a hierarchy of like, these rights are more important than these rights and things like that. And then the big difference between the left wing and the right wing in America, like, this is basically what the difference is between Democrats and Republicans, by the way, is Republicans believe we only have negative rights. Negative rights is freedom from something, right? Like, we have a freedom not to be murdered. We have a freedom not to be stolen from. We have a freedom of speech. Like, the government can't censor us. Like, we have the right to not have the government interfere with our speech, right? Democrats believe that we have positive rights. We have a right to be to be employed. We have a right to a house. We have a right to money. We have a right to food. We have a right to healthcare, where the government must provide you these things if you do not have them. So if you don't have healthcare, the government must provide it for you. If you don't have food, the government must provide it for you. If you don't have housing, the government must provide it for you. Whereas Republicans in general say, no, the government just stays out of your way. Like the government is there to protect your life, your property. If two people are going to start shooting each other, we'll send the police out and arrest them, that kind of stuff. But the government doesn't owe you anything. Like it's your life, you do what you can. That is fundamentally the difference between Republicans and Democrats in America. Like that's, if there's any one issue, it's that. Okay. So, your essay is going to be on cancel culture. Okay. So we're basically out of time here, but what you're going to do is you are going to think about cancel culture. So cancel culture, if you guys don't know, the people in the ADM class define this, basically shaming somebody for an action they've done and trying to get them fired or not working again. Okay. So you will take a position on cancel culture, whether you are supporting of it, opposed to it, some in-between area, which is fine too. Shades of gray can certainly exist on this matter. And so, give examples of different people who have been canceled, whether you support the cancellation or not. And, were they justified in being canceled, which were not. Remember, when you cancel somebody, you're essentially saying, I want you to never work again, right? I want you to lose all of your money. I want you to not be able to feed your kids. I want you to become homeless, right? It's a pretty serious thing that I think a lot of the people that are part of these mobs on Twitter, like, don't think about, right? Like they don't really think about like just what it means to never work again, ever, right? Like you're wishing somebody would die. Right. And maybe for some of the people, I had them like listing people who are canceled. Harvey Weinstein, was like raping people. Like, it's probably a good idea if he doesn't work again. I don't know. He's in jail anyway. So what difference does it make? And then some people are like too big to be canceled. Like J.K. Rowling has enough money that, it doesn't matter if she ever works again or not. Jordan Peterson, probably the same. Trump, maybe. But like, there's a pretty big range also of like the offenses that got people canceled. Like Bill Cosby is pretty bad. Jesse Smollett like faked a hate crime. Andrew Tate was like allegedly imprisoning people in Romania and stuff like that. Mr. Beast though, like his crime was, I guess, having money. I don't really understand why people would want to cancel him. I'm not really familiar with that thing, but they were saying like because he had money or something. I don't know. Like, it's what you just want, like, people not to work again. He's too nice. Like, that's why we're canceling people. Like, I don't know. Justin Roiland from Rick and Morty, is allegedly domestic abusing people, things like that. So he got fired from his own company, Squanch Games. So, yeah, and so the question is like, when should somebody be canceled? How far back at their actions should we look? Because times do change, right? And should we judge people by the standards of today or of the time when they said it? Like if you look back at like what Obama said on like gay people, like it's not great. Like Obama would probably be canceled today, if he said what he said 20 years ago. So like, is that fair? Like, times change, people change. Like, is it fair to cancel somebody based on what they said 20 years ago? I don't know. You tell me. Because some things even for their time were like bad, like even 20 years ago, like there's some pretty bad things you could say. Times have changed, but also they haven't changed that much, right? So people get canceled for like NFL players and things like that, right? Like, it's one of the reasons why I don't use Twitter, right? It's like I don't want to have there be any record of like, my statements in case 20 years from now somebody decides that, me, I don't know, having like some Chinese artwork, behind me is, I don't know, cancelable for some reason. I don't know. And so when should we speak out against cancellation? And the big question is like, right now we don't really have any mechanism for like uncanceling somebody, right? Like Louis C.K. was like canceled for a while, and then he like sort of came back. So like, but we don't have any real rules for like when somebody should be forgiven, and that's a big question, right? Because like punishment without repentance, without like even if you like commit a crime, like you go to jail and then you've paid your debt to society, right? And they let you out. Right now, canceling is just kind of like forever, I guess. I don't know. It's not clear to me. Like, when do we allow people out of canceled jail? You know, or do you just want them to starve to death forever? Like, that's a big question to me. Okay. And overall, the question is cancel culture good or bad? You're gonna analyze it under one of these ethical theories. So you're gonna pick one of these, like virtue ethics or natural rights theory. Right to speech obviously is pretty relevant here. Virtue ethics, there's all sorts of things like on excesses of cancel culture you can talk about. Kantian ethics. What if everybody engaged in cancel culture? You know, you probably think about that. That would be fun. Utilitarianism. Are you inflicting more pain than pleasure? I don't know. Divine command theory. What would God have to say about divine command theory? What would the gurus have to say about it? Right. So that is going to be your next essay. Okay, you're going to have to like next Wednesday to write it. Okay. Kanye, Irving. Yeah, it should be a fun discussion. Okay. So it's a big deal in our society right now, and it's well worth exploring because I think we need as a society to come up with rules on cancel culture. I really do, because right now it's just this giant like mob kind of thing where like people will just nuke from orbit somebody, and sometimes it's you know it's not warranted, and there's no mechanism to stop it, to uncancel, to like be like, yo, that's too far, you know. And so, but sometimes maybe it's justified, like Harvey Weinstein. Like if somebody asked me, hey, would I want to work with Harvey Weinstein? I'd be like, no. You know, do you think Harvey Weinstein should work in Hollywood? Probably not. I don't know. He's kind of proven to like not be trustworthy. You know? I don't know. Like I don't know the guy, but like it seems pretty bad. So I would say, yeah, probably not. You know, I don't know. So there's a lot of really interesting questions here, and that's what you guys are going to be talking about for your next essay. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much. I'll go ahead and tag you with the updates for your comments you made in the last couple minutes. If you have any final thoughts on cancel culture, make it now. Earn yourself an up finger. And then I will see you guys not on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I'm probably going to be at a doctor's appointment. I'll send an announcement on that probably on Friday. Okay. So peace out.